Greetings, YouTube family. This is your host at Alt News Talk Radio, where alt news also matters. Today is Saturday, September 8th, 2018. Well, this video is about why a black police group issued a stirring defense of Colin Kaepernick. There's been some YouTubers who've even asked the question, where and who is this black police group? After all, we've never heard of you up until this point. So, who are they? I did a little research and we're going to discover who they are, and then we're going to talk about this issue. So let's go to the story. When Nike's decision to feature Colin Kaepernick in its new advertising campaign set off a flurry of protests and calls to boycott, some national police organizations were quick to leap into the fray. The National Fraternal Order of Police criticized the ads and implied that the choice to feature Kaepernick was an insult to law enforcement officers. Never mind police brutality, things of that nature, but the fact that you're putting Colin Kaepernick in a advertising campaign, oh my God. But I digress. And the National Association of Police Organizations went further, calling for a boycott of Nike while disparaging Kaepernick as a, quote, shallow dilettante seeking to gain notoriety by disrespecting the flag for which so many Americans have fought and died. Well, we've heard that talking point, even though they want to totally brush under the carpet that this whole ordeal has nothing to do with the damn anthem or that damn flag. It has everything to do with human rights and human rights being violated by so-called law enforcement. That's what this whole situation is about. Donald Trump and the other white supremacists, namely the arm of white supremacy, i.e. the media, we refer to them as lamestream. Donald Trump refers to them as fake news, but nonetheless, those group of people, they like to repeat and parakeet the same talking point that Donald Trump uses. That, why are they kneeling during the anthem? They're disrespecting the flag. They're disrespecting the veterans. Blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. It's the same old, tired talking points that's so far from the truth. The truth of the matter is, this whole kneeling situation was strategically done because of police brutality. It was to bring focus and attention to the rights of black people that were being disregarded, that were being violated, our human rights and our civil rights being violated. That's what this is about. And so Europeans and white people, they try to change the narrative to suit their own agenda. And black media, we're just not going for that. We're just not accepting that. We are going to tell our story the way it's supposed to be told. And so, Kaepernick, the out-of-work NFL quarterback who touched off the league's national anthem protest, has long been a target of conservatives, perhaps notably and vocally President Trump, for his actions, which Kaepernick said were about the mistreatment of blacks at the hands of police. Now, the article states which Kaepernick said were about the mistreatment of minorities at the hands of police. But in 2018, going forward, black people will focus on our issues because every other minority group has used black people to push their agendas and then pushed us aside. So we are going to refer to things as black. That is smart and intelligent. we need to focus on black issues. And so when I read that, I'm going to read it as the mistreatment of black people at the hands of the police. Because after all, that's been the majority of the cases. White people, especially the white trolls, they come on deflecting and saying how they're more victims of police brutality, but when you ask them to show you the videos, they have none. They only have talking points, that's all. They have absolutely no receipts. You ask them to show you the receipts, they have none. And so they start talking about, well, anything else besides the truth. Hell, they'll bring up Chicago. That's their go-to scapegoat talking point. Let's talk about Chicago. But I digress. So family, here is a copy of that letter that was sent to, from the National Black Police Association in regards to the Colin Kaepernick situation. They were voicing their concerns, but as other YouTubers have voiced, and I'll repeat again, is where has the National Black Police Association been all these years behind all these police shootings of unarmed black men and women and children being tased and our rights being violated? Where has the National Black Police Association been? And so you just now surface when it comes to a sports game, when it comes to a sports athlete. And so we're going to go over this a little bit. So Sonia Y.W. Pruitt, the national chairperson of the National Black Police Association and a chief lieutenant in Maryland, was watching the drama unfold this week and said she was upset by the reactions of the other police organizations. She disagreed with their messages and thought that they didn't fully reflect the full breadth of political views held by police officers around the country. And so I'm going to pause for a second on that. It's awfully interesting that this Sonia Pruitt, the national chairperson of the National Black Police Association and police lieutenant in Maryland, that she spoke up about this issue, because the last time we watched something like this where a black woman spoke up about her fellow police officers, you remember I forget her name, but it was a case about a few years ago, a couple years or a few years ago, where she spoke up about fellow police officers she felt were not wearing the blue shield, the blue uniform and the shield properly, that they were disrespecting the uniform by terrorizing and being racist. And she spoke out loud about it, and then the next thing you knew, she was suspended. You remember who she was, even though she was doing the right thing. And this is a problem here. I need to speak on this for a second. When it comes to being righteous, we need to do that. We need to do what's right. Forget about what is popular and what they want. We need to do what's right. If you believe in God, if you believe in a higher spirit than yourself, then you know that you need to do the right thing. That's what white people always preach. So why would you not do the right thing when it comes to them being racist, or a racist situation for that matter? Why wouldn't you do the right thing? And so I digress. I'm going to go back to this story. So on Wednesday, she wrote a letter on behalf of her organization that served as a stirring defense of Kaepernick and sharp rebuke to the harsh words issued by other police organizations. Of course, because the other police organizations, they feel that you should shut up because they're white and they say so, and they feel like their voice is the only voice that should be heard. I'm very, very happy that the National Black Police Association spoke up. It's about time. It's about time. It's a damn shame that we're just now finding out about you and who you are. What do you stand for, as a matter of fact? I think we need to cover that and find out what exactly do you stand for. But anyways, it says, on the contrary, Pruitt wrote, National Black Police Association believes that Mr. Kaepernick's stance is in direct alignment with what law enforcement stands for, which is the protection of a people, their human rights, their dignity, their safety, and their rights as American citizens. I was just speaking about that. All of those things. Our human rights, our dignity, our rights as American citizens. And it's crazy that we have to deal with immigrants coming from other countries who have white skin, and then they try to argue against us, and we've been here way longer than them, as if they have a voice to have something to say. These are arrogant douches that do that. Anyway, Sonia Pruitt continues by saying that National Association Police Organization has chosen this matter to take a stance only perpetuates the narrative that police are racist, with no regard, acknowledgement, respect, or understanding of the issues and concerns of the African American community, she wrote. So she's laying it on the line there, exactly what she's saying. Basically saying that the white police organizations, they have no regard, acknowledgement, respect, or understanding of the issues and concerns in the black communities. And she is absolutely correct. She is 100% correct. And they wonder why Colin Kaepernick kneeled during the anthem. It's so asinine and retarded that people cannot figure this out. Something so simple and right. Well, in an interview with the Washington Post, Pruitt said her organization was motivated to respond to add an alternative police perspective into the debate. Quote, as black officers, we often find ourselves riding the wave with other officers, but no one has asked us what our opinion is, Pruitt said. On many of these social issues, we disagree, but nobody knows that, because the assumption is that if you're a police officer, that you all think the same way, unquote. Sonia Pruitt, you guys have, I have to take a side note. Let's pause for a second. Sonia Pruitt, you guys have a website. You guys have every means in the world to reach out to the community and voice your concerns and make a stand of what you stand for, and you guys have failed to do that. There's YouTube. There's just too many avenues for you to be able to have community outreach. In this day and age, all you're doing is using excuses and making excuses. There's absolutely no excuse in the world for you to be saying this in this day and age, talking about you haven't been able to get your voice heard. It's hogwash. I have to bring that and expose that, because you're absolutely incorrect. And if you don't know this, then you're just way behind the times. But I digress. It says, the National Black Police Association is based in Dallas and was founded in 1972 after black police officers from about a dozen law enforcement organizations came together to discuss the issue of racial representation on police force staffs. So in other words, they had to come up with a committee of some sort to discuss why police officers or why police organizations were not hiring black people. That's pretty much plain and simple. Why police organizations were not hiring black people. Now, back in the day, we would use the term minorities, but that included women, white women in particular, and Asians and all these other groups of people, and they still would leave out black people. So we're not saying minorities anymore. I want to repeat that. It continues on saying that Pruitt declined to give the organization's membership numbers, saying she did not know them offhand, but said it had dozens of chapters around the country and was the largest black police organization after the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. The group's statement echoes the one made by 80 current and retired former NYPD officers who rallied in support of Kaepernick in New York last year, as well as the remarks of some veterans who have pushed back on their view that the NFL protests are offensive to the military. Quote, "As public servants, we should not be immune to criticism," Pruitt said. Quote, "This is a noble profession, but what we need to understand is that we can't run away from our problems." She said she took particular objection to NAPO's assertion that Kaepernick had not sacrificed anything, as the ad campaign had maintained, given that he was not a veteran of the military or law enforcement. Very good point. The African American community makes a sacrifice each time a life is unjustly lost at the hands of the very people who should protect them, Pruitt wrote in the letter. A sacrifice is made each time the criminal justice system treats black people as less than. A sacrifice is made each time a letter is sent asking officers to boycott a corporation without asking those very African American officers who are most affected what their opinion is. Ask the African American officers what their opinion is. Ask them. Ask them so you know the truth. And quit thinking and acting like people should just go along with your white supremacist thoughts and actions and value system. People are tired of it. So you should ask your African American police officers, how does it affect them? She said she thought that sensitivity to police criticism stemmed from an unwillingness to address the topic of race head on. Quote, "As black officers, we live in two worlds," she said. "On the one hand, we're police officers, and then on the other hand, we're members of the African American community. So we're well versed in both, which is why we can understand why Mr. Kaepernick took a knee," unquote. And as I conclude this video, family, I did another video where I pointed out a movie that I saw on Netflix. I believe it was called, the movie was called Black Cop. And it showed a portrayal of a black police officer who was constantly trying to do the right thing until one day he didn't have his badge on, he didn't have his uniform on, and he was just out taking a jog with a hoodie on. And he got stopped by his fellow police officers, and they didn't know he was a police officer. And well, you can imagine how that story went, because he thought that, well, his fellow police officers were good white people. Anyways, I'm going to end this video off here, giving you something to think about. Hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up, share, like, subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace out.